Yeah, that's not new.
This is since 2000 probably.
TAWG?
Yeah. Where have you been?
Early Break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations, now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios at 1040 O Street.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com. Member FDIC.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
The Nebraska Lottery presents 5 reasons the dollar bill is so great. First, it's always there when you need it. You can always find one folded up in your pocket, just waiting to get you out of a jam. Second, it's humble. It doesn't strut around like a 50 or 100 waiting for people to compliment it. Third, it works hard. Whether you need more money for a tip or extra detergent at the laundromat, a dollar bill sure comes in handy. Fourth, it beats lugging around 100 pennies. And fifth, you can use it to buy a Lotto America ticket from the Nebraska Lottery. Lotto America only costs $1. It has a $2 million starting jackpot with drawings every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And you can add the All-Star bonus for an additional $1 to multiply any prize won. So visit a Nebraska Lottery retailer today and buy a Lotto America ticket. Sounds like someone tried to pay with 100 pennies. So sad.
Lotto America top prize odds, 1 in 26 million.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
It's time for the finish line with Bree Fansteel and James Rowland, coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Start your engine!
Well, good evening to you, race fans, and welcome into the finish line. Oh, boy, I about had a movement with that one. Welcome to the line, race fans. I couldn't hear myself in my ears, so I didn't know if you lovely people could hear me out there. So
I couldn't either. Yeah, that was weird.
Oh, perfect. Now we're all here. Welcome
Yep,
to all the guests. Well, actually, the only person that's not here is Benedict Bree Fansteel. Just kidding. Bree is down at US 30 Speedway. They are having their Breast Cancer Awareness Night, honoring all of those who have lost their battle with breast cancer. So definitely out for a good cause and some great racing over at the US 30 Speedway. I'm over here with Ben, the master of buttons. We're going to be joined a little bit later on with Caitlin Stern. Never done one of these things by myself, so I'm going to kind of kick it off podcast style.
You're going to do it great, James. You're going to do great, James.
All right. I definitely have the faith. And if Bree and Rebecca didn't have the faith, then they probably wouldn't have had me here. So we'll kick it off.
True.
Let's just go over, how was your week, Ben? Did you do anything fun? Do you have anything fun coming up?
Did I do anything fun? Not really. Just been working, but I am going to Colorado this upcoming week.
That's fun.
Yeah. On Tuesday, I'm going to be heading down to Colorado. So I'm going to be there like basically all week. So
Will you be back next Sunday?
Yes.
Perfect. So we can hear all about it.
Yeah. I'm not going to leave you guys next Sunday. I'll be here. So.
Are you going to do anything exciting, adventurous, climb a mountain, jump out of an airplane, something like that?
I will never jump out of an airplane.
Never?
but No, that's too scary. But I think we're gonna go water rafting and then maybe zip lining.
I think both of those sound like a good
Yeah.
time. And, they're a great starter to skydiving. I told
will never
myself that I would.
skydive.
I told
No.
myself that I never would either, but
I will never do that.
yeah, you will.
No, I won't. I actually think I would die.
Oh,
I'm not the biggest heights person, but like in a zip line, I feel safe.
because you have a harness.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm not a big heights person, but like as long as I feel safe, if I'm falling out of the sky, no, I think I would die.
It's pretty awesome.
I actually think I would die.
It's kind of like strapping into a sprint car, man. It's just it's one of those deals that you just have to experience it. And I haven't experienced jumping into a sprint car yet, but if I was going to, I know the guy to talk to get one built. We got to thank our proud sponsor, or our proud partner, Mike Boston with Eagle Motorsports. Mike has been ripping around the area's racetracks for nearly 50, a little over 50 years, as we talked about last week when Mike was in on the finish line. And Eagle Motorsports is your go-to source to get a sprint car chassis brand new or get one repaired. And again, big thank you to Mike Boston for jumping in and partnering up with the finish line. With that, I'll go ahead and bring us into Race Roundup, as has become a pretty popular part of the program. This week, Mother Nature won at US 30 on Thursday night. There was some pretty heavy storms predicted throughout the area, so they went ahead and made the executive call to go ahead and scratch for Thursday night, and they got approval through IMCA to go ahead and run tonight on Sunday. So that's why Breeze down there, they have an excellent turnout of cars, and depending on where they're at in the program, I might bust out of here at 8 o'clock and head down to US 30 to try and catch the conclusion. Mother Nature also winning the World of Outlaws race at I think it was Cedar Lake or wherever they were supposed to be on Friday, somewhere up in the Wisconsin area.
All right.
Moving on to some stuff that we got to see around the area over the weekend. Friday night over at Beatrice Speedway, Anthony Roth picked up the win in the modifieds. Sport Mods went to Lance Borgman, Stock Cars Kyle Vanover, Hobby Stocks Nick Ronnebaum, and Sport Compacts Kaylee Richards. My apologies to those who I missed out on Friday at Beatrice. I was tuned in live on IMCA TV, but I decided to go with a friend of mine to a racetrack that I hadn't been to before, and unfortunately didn't quite make it to Crawford County Speedway. The truck had other plans and problems, so we had to turn it back around and head back. So nearly took off to Boone County Raceway in my truck at that point, where we saw the Malvern Bank 360 sprint cars in action. Great turnout of cars for those guys. I believe 21 in total. They had quite a bit going on over there. Sport Mod division went to David Johnson. Compacts was Kyle Reed. Crown Vics went to Dalton Young. And your Malvern Bank 360 sprint car winner was Jake Bubach. Sounds like they had quite a slider fest going on down there between Bubach, Stu Snyder. Stu was a little bit towards the tail end of the top 10. Still a good run for the number 5 machine. It was Slide Job City with Jake Bubach and Joey Danley, from what I've been told by Ryan Kump down there at the Boone County Raceway. So pretty good showing also from our previous guest, Miss Shaylee Bade, in her 360 program. It was her first 360 night of the year, and I believe she went from 17th to 7th, 18th to 7th. Oh, PJ's going to be mad at me for not having that stat down. But either way, great night of racing, as it always is over at the Boone County Raceway. Moving up to Saturday night, Junction Motor Speedway. A guy that we don't normally get to see in the late model division. I was shocked. I almost had to check my race pass to see if maybe it was the wrong class listed. But Shane Stutzman making the move into an IMCA late model down there at McCool Junction, and apparently taking to it like a duck to water, as he picked up the feature win there on Saturday night. Stock Cars saw Bo Eggy as your winner. Sport Mods went to Spencer Galloway. Hobby Stocks Dylan Thompson. I apparently forgot how to type on the Sport Compacts, but Riley Floors picked up the win. And your Crown Vics went to Kyler Rajewski, I believe his second or third win in the Crown Vic division. So with that class being in its infancy, seeing somebody take off like that really goes to show some excellent driving talent. And speaking of Shaylee Bade, who we were talking about a little bit earlier, made it 2 in a row at Eagle Raceway on Saturday night in stunning fashion for the Stan Caesar Classic out at Eagle Raceway. And I'd like to just kind of toot Eagle's horn a little bit. Of course, Eagle Raceway is a proud partner here on the finish line, and we are full swing into our racing season, actually nearly halfway through. But we race at Eagle Raceway every Saturday night, pretty much April through the beginning of September. Come out and join us. It's an excellent family atmosphere. It's also a great place to party over at Eagle Raceway, America's home track. So as I mentioned, the Stan Caesar Classic, we had an increased payout, $347 to start the Sprint Car A main for your Race Saver Sprint Cars. Paid out $1,047 to win, and Shaylee Bade picked up that W. Good battle between herself and Gene Ackland, slicing and dicing through the field. Cody Ledger had a really strong run trying to slice up through the field. Of course, he races the Stan Caesar Racing number 47, who we were memorializing on Saturday night. And it was also Freedom Fest. Now, Freedom Fest happens every year at Eagle. We should have got you out there last night. But we have a fireworks display. And this year, 2 giants in the local fireworks area combined their efforts and put on, hands down, the best fireworks show that I've seen anywhere in my 32 years. It was absolutely incredible. Big shout out to Ariel FX for the fireworks show that they put on last night. If you weren't out there, check your Snapchat, because if you know somebody that was at the racetrack, they were taking snaps of the fireworks last night. Pretty incredible. Awesome night start to finish, man. A lot of people talk about the crowd for High Limits. I think in the picture that I saw from Doug Fansteel, Bree's dad, it looked like we were only 4 or 5 more empty rows than that High Limit show. So big thank you to all the folks who go out and support Eagle Raceway on Saturday nights, and everybody who came out last night. Great show at Eagle Raceway. The rest of your winners, stock cars went to Tommy Etherton, his second on the year in his rookie year in the stock car division. Your sport mods went to Adam Verbka. Adam picked up the track championship at Eagle Raceway in 2023 in a no-win season. And this year he's already rattled off 2 victories. Kind of a fun statistical fact about Adam Verbka. I've been knowing him for about 15 years, since he was racing the 4-cylinder sport compacts. And each year he was winning in the compacts, he picked up the hat trick. Now that's kind of universal across all sports. A hat trick is 3 victories, 3 buckets, 3 touchdowns, whatever it is. Hat trick each of those years. I think he's got 3 wins in the sport mod now, and I know he's going to be trying for that hat trick as the year goes on. Modifieds went to Clint Holman in dominating fashion, was the 27. A couple of guys came up like Bob Zobek to mount a strong challenge, but nobody had anything for the 27 by the end of the night. In your hobby stock division, brought to you by Valentino's, Brad Schreiner got the win. Trouble for your race leader opened the door for Brad Schreiner to get that victory. Brad is a really hard-working guy. Not only is he out at Eagle on Saturday nights, but he comes out Friday nights and works with the Four Corners Fire and Safety crew doing fire and rescue stuff. Not exactly sure what Brad does during the week, but I know that he works hard, and our production manager, Kurt Merrill, has actually came up with a new nickname for Brad Schreiner, and he's now going to be known as the Weeping Water Warrior. I hope you like it, Brad, because I think that one's going to stick. And let's see. Shaylee Bade, 2-time winner in your Race Saver Sprint Cars. She was absolutely ecstatic to get that victory and does something that not a lot of people do. Donuts in a sprint car. Any sprint car guys listening, donuts in a sprint car. Learn it, live it, love it. It could pick you up an extra $100 with the Party On Award out there at Eagle Raceway. Moving on to the pavement kind of stuff in Formula One. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we are joined by Caitlin Stern after our break. F1, George Russell picked up the win. Max Verstappen, who wins almost every week, finished all the way back in 5th, and that was almost an earth-shattering F1 discovery for me to see him running that far back in the field without crashing. But I'm sure Max Verstappen will be back to his winning ways in no time. It's only been a whole 2 weeks, and they had last week off. Moving on to the NASCAR side of things, in the Truck Series, Christian Eckes picked up the win, led every single lap in that race down at, why can't I think of where they're racing? Because they are racing right now at the Nashville Super Speedway. Goodness. In the Xfinity Series, John Hunter Nemechek picked up the win, and as they are still racing after a rain delay, probably the quickest rain delay in the history of NASCAR. I'm talking 40, 45 minutes from a huge rain shower, big thunderstorm, thunder and lightning. That blew by at a rapid rate. And they got back to racing action. 255 of 300 laps completed, 45 laps to go at the Nashville Super Speedway. Your current top five: Ross Chastain in the lead, Ryan Blaney rides second, Bubba Wallace in third, AJ Allmendinger in fourth, and Kyle Busch rounding out your top five. So as they stand right now, excellent rebound for Kyle Busch after a couple of just abysmal weeks for the 8 car. And we'll kind of keep you updated with that as the show goes on here. Let's see. What else do we have to cover for some race roundup stuff? The IndyCar Series is off this week. A couple of interesting comments about the IndyCar Series and their lack of racing. Kyle Larson was asked earlier today under that NASCAR rain delay about Joseph Newgarden wanting to run the double, the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. That takes place Memorial Day weekend every year. And Kyle said, well, those IndyCar guys, they don't race very often anyway, so he could have been here today racing with us. And that's kind of got things stirred up over in the garage area, and it kind of brings me to something that I've had weighing on my mind and really haven't been able to talk about too much on the show or doing podcasting, but there are a lot of people out there that don't get out and race too often. And with modern day economic times, that's kind of understandable. But it makes me wonder, and Mike Peterson asked the question, basically, what does it take to get people to go out and race? Specifically, we were talking about Race Saver sprint cars at Beatrice and US 30. Now, the reason that question was posed is because we're averaging 27 sprint cars at Eagle on a Saturday night. We got a pretty good paying show. You can always tell that you're going to have a pretty good racetrack. It's always a racy joint over at Eagle Raceway, as is Beatrice and US 30. So that leads the question as to why guys aren't going down and running there. And kind of the number, let's give a quick 3. I know we got to get to break here before too long. I'll give a quick 3 reasons that people say that they don't get out to these racetracks. And one, of course, is because they race on quote unquote weeknights. Columbus races on Thursdays, Beatrice races on Fridays. Some people say payout. Well, every time they race at Columbus, they do have an increased purse because they don't get to have sprint cars there very often, and it definitely packs the house. So they like to give back to the fans and the drivers by increasing that payout a little bit. Beatrice pays $1,000 to win every time that they have those Race Saver cars down there. And the pay on back is Eagles payout. So you're still getting $250 to start. Really, I'm not buying your logic. Yeah, we all work on Fridays. That's what you do. It's a Monday through Friday thing. So you go to work on Friday, you get off 3:30, 4 o'clock. Maybe you don't get off until 5 o'clock. Well, good news for you, Buckaroo. Beatrice doesn't start until 7:30. You get off at 5 and you have that car loaded. It's just a quick 45 minutes south of Lincoln. As a matter of fact, it takes me the same amount of time to get from my doorstep over in the near south area of Lincoln to go to Eagle Raceway as it does to get to Beatrice Speedway. So Race Saver guys, you're running out of excuses. Coming up July 26th, Beatrice Speedway is going to crown their first sprint car champion since 1971. Now, this comes with some extra perks too. Not only is this a points night, but it's going to be draw, redraw, 1,000 to win as of right now. I think that number is going to go up. And Adam Gullion has stepped up and provided an extra $1,000 bonus for a back row challenge. Now, Ben, I know you don't get out to the races too often, but a back row challenge is something interesting that we don't see very often. So in a draw redraw format, you draw at the beginning of the night, and what you draw determines where you start in your heat race. Well, then they take the top, it depends on what the number is, but they take the top X number of starters and they redraw. That determines their starting spot for the feature. So a back row challenge is where they give the option to people who start on the front row and they say, hey, if you start at the back row and can come back and win this, then you win the back row challenge. So the possibility to take home $2,000 at Beatrice Speedway, July 26th. It's fair night. The place is going to be packed. The atmosphere is going to be great. Get your Race Saver right rears on and meet me at Beatrice Speedway.
We got about 5 minutes left. Do you want to bring in your guest real quick, and then we can throw out the break?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. You got Caitlin Stern. That's who your guest is today. You want to have her just introduce herself and talk a little bit about herself before we throw out the break, because we got like 5 minutes, so I want to bring her in before we throw out the break.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Excellent, Caitlin. How are you? Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're definitely happy to have you. So we've got about 5 minutes until we roll into our first break. Let's kind of get to know Caitlin Stern a little bit. How did you come into something like this? I guess we'll dive into the hard questions. Why chemical engineering?
So I don't have a chemical engineering degree. I do have a chemistry degree, but I recently just graduated with my master's in business administration, and I've been toying with the idea of getting my chemical engineering degree too. But my husband has encouraged me to take a little bit of a break for a while. But my love for chemistry started at a very young age. Actually, my dad growing up, he had a chemistry set in our basement, which not mad scientist vibes by any means. It was well ventilated and it was very safe, everything that we were doing. But I loved to sit down there and do experiments with him. And I remember thinking that it was so cool when he would mix things together and they would cause bubbles or change colors. So that at a young age caused me to be really interested in the subject. And then fast forward to high school, all of the upperclassmen would talk about how chemistry is the hardest class that you're going to take in high school. And I always loved a challenge. And so the fact that it was difficult made me want to be good at it that much more. So as I was taking that course, I just thought it was so interesting that chemistry was everywhere around us, from cooking your food to digestion, or even the emotions that we feel all tie back to chemistry in our brain and in our body. And so I wanted to pursue higher education.
Oh, see, she came back.
Oh, perfect.
And then I worked as an analytical chemist for a couple of years before coming back and joining the family business.
Yeah, family business with Stern Company. Stern has your solutions for all of your fuel and lubricant needs. I've actually been dying to bust this one out, but I hear you also have a little involvement with the propane.
We do. We absolutely do. So we've been in the propane business for, longer than I've been alive.
C3H8.
I'm very impressed.
I just watched too much King of the Hill growing up.
You want to throw it to break, James?
Yeah, let's go ahead and throw it to break. I'll get my question sheet pulled up here, and we'll be right back on the finish line.
Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard options. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, you know you have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Contact Roger at Stern Company by calling 1-800-477-2744 or visit them online at stern.co. Stern Company, where problems meet solvers.
NEPCO is hiring CDL drivers for ready mixed concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. NEPCO offers great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they pay for CDL training. Apply today and start your new career with a $2,500 hiring bonus. From NEPCO's beginning in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Liberty Law Group is committed to the defense of liberty for those accused and the pursuit of justice for those injured. Liberty Law Group's relentless trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and personal injury law. Navigating the legal system can be stressful, overwhelming, and full of uncertainty. We believe in treating every client with respect, compassion, and understanding. When you're in need of legal assistance, trust Liberty Law Group to fight for you. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. That's 877-42-LIBERTY.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get?
Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
In a world where businesses are facing daily cyber threats, you need protection like never before. Don't let hackers and malware companies compromise your business success. Stay ahead of data breaches with Hamilton Cybersecurity. Let Hamilton provide you with peace of mind that your business is protected. Our experts identify and mitigate risks before they become disasters. As your trusted partner, we help you protect your valuable information. Hire your local cybersecurity experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first.
At Doane University, your future is uniquely yours, and our world-class liberal arts education is just the beginning.
We invite you to schedule your campus visit and experience why Doane University will start you on your journey to your future career.
Learn more by scheduling your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit. See you soon.
Spring often marks the beginning of severe weather, which can lead to power outages. LES wants you to be prepared before the storm. Restock your emergency kit, update your info with LES, and if you encounter an outage, report it at les.com/report.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine bar. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for wine, beer, spirits, and cigars. Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
You know that dollar bill you've got stuffed in your wallet, purse, or pocket? Give it a little respect, because it could win you millions. Lotto America from the Nebraska Lottery is here, and it only costs $1 to play. It has a $2 million starting jackpot with drawings every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. What's more, you can add the All-Star bonus for an additional $1 to multiply any prize won. So unwrinkle that dollar bill in your glove box and play today. Lotto America top prize odds 1 in 26 million.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
We're not going to just sit back and run RPOs and all these different little things you run when you have a run first quarterback. We got to pass first quarterback, and that's going to make us super effective. You're not going to be able to put 9 people in the box. That's what Coach Rule is talking about. You're not going to put 9 people in the box and think that you're going to get it done against us, because you got a real gunslinger and you got receivers. Those two things alone, especially if we get a running back that can make somebody miss, we will be deadly on offense.
Back to the finish line with Bree Fansteel and James Rowland on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, race fans, into the finish line on 93.7 The Ticket. If you're riding around in your car, if you're hanging out at home, you can also check us out on the Ticket app and watch on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Allo Channel 961. You can feel free to call in or text us on the text line 402-464-5685, as well as the YouTube chat. Come along, be part of the show. Big shout out to our partner, Stern Company. Stern understands your business needs to run like a well-oiled machine, and it's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure that you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard option. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, goodness, I'm stumbling over my words today, you now have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Stern Company online at stern.co, where problems meet solvers. And welcome back into the show. Of course, Ben driving the car, and we're joined by Caitlin Stern. Caitlin, we talked a little bit about propane and a little bit about your upbringing before we went to break. I want to touch a little bit more on the family-owned business and the history of how you guys got started at Stern Company.
Yeah, one of my favorite topics. So I'm super proud of everything that my dad and grandfather have built. So Stern was founded in the tiny town of Freeman, South Dakota, where I grew up. And at the time, Amoco was changing their business model. And so they used to have what they call agents of the oil company. So the major oil companies like Amoco, they owned and operated the business themselves. And so they owned the accounts receivable, the inventory, the bulk truck, and then their agents were essentially employees of the oil company. So they changed that model to distributorships, very similar to how oil companies are owned and operated today, where they have partnerships with major brands, but the oil companies themselves own and operate the facility. So my grandpa actually, he worked for the telephone company and just saw it as a great opportunity. He had no experience in oil and gas, but he knew that if he worked hard and if he could keep his costs below what he sold it for, he could make money and grow. So he did that, and my dad was right alongside him the whole time. Actually, my dad started working for the business at 14. He would drive the bulk truck and make deliveries, and then on the weekends he did the books. So I'm trying to imagine what I would be like as a freshman in high school doing the books for our business today, and I can't quite picture it. But it was always part of his plan then to come back to the business, and he did so, and he expanded the business to include our first ExxonMobil lubricants contract that we signed in 1983 and still operate with today.
Wow, that's incredible. Talk about diving headfirst into the world of working as a freshman in high school, helping to run the family business, and kind of a strange connection between Stern Company's history and 93.7 The Ticket. The building that our studio is in actually used to be the Lincoln Telephone Company.
Oh, no way. I did not know that.
I didn't either until it became, it was the electric company after it was the phone company. And now it's the radio company and the mill. So we've got a lot of history over here in this little building. Speaking of Amoco and where you guys kind of got your humble beginnings, I know for as long as I can remember, Amoco has been a part of racing, and now Stern Company has gotten involved too. Is that kind of how you guys got involved in racing?
Can you hear us, Galen?
I can now.
All right, there we go. You want to ask your question again, James?
Yeah, absolutely. We were speaking about Amoco and how that helped tie into the humble beginnings of Stern Company. And I can remember when I was a kid, I mean, I guess I still am kind of a dork when it comes to looking at vintage racing and stuff. So you've seen all these oil companies and stuff for a long time in motorsports. Is that kind of how Stern Company got involved in racing?
Yeah, it absolutely is. So since we partnered with ExxonMobil, they have always provided the best products in the industry as far as racing goes. And Mobil 1 is a sponsor of NASCAR. So we wanted to get involved in our local racing community too. I don't have that much experience growing up in racing by any means, like a lot of listeners on this group of ours, because the racing community believes in performance, and so do we.
Absolutely. And you guys do a wonderful job. Actually, just speaking a bit on the brand loyalty of the racing community, I was pretty loyal to Valvoline for a really long time until the recent partnership with Toyota 2311 and Mobil 1. And I have recently, I guess not so recently anymore, I'm 3 oil changes in on my Mobil 1 1030. And I have noticed I'm also a nerd for checking my own gas mileage. And my mileage has gone up probably right near a half a gallon, or not a half a gallon, like a half a mile per gallon toward the tank. So I'm definitely happy with the results that I've seen. And I'm also driving a 25-year-old, nearly 200,000 mile vehicle.
But that's awesome to hear. It just proves the performance of the product. And I mean, my husband and I had vehicles that were over 385,000 miles, and we always put Mobil 1 in, and we gifted that vehicle to our nephew, and he's still driving it today. And I think that a lot of that has to deal with the products that we put into our engines. So
Yeah,
I'm so
maybe-
excited to hear that you're a believer now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I've always, I guess I'm just that kind of brand loyal when it comes to stuff. And it goes beyond just having any one driver that you like. Once you find a product that works, you stick with it. And I think you've made a customer out of me for quite a while. We'll go ahead and dive into something maybe a little bit more in depth that not a lot of people think about the difference of between fuels and lubricants.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of break that down a little bit for us? I mean, obviously the fuel goes into the gas tank and the lubricants normally go into the engine, but those all kind of have to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with fuel, in particular diesel fuel, because
Yeah,
diesel
your
fuel-
atomic.
Yeah, so I can chat a little bit about that too. But diesel fuel today, I think, is so interesting because shockingly enough, it's not fit to burn in today's diesel engine. So I'm
Right.
going to say that one more time for the listeners, just because most people don't believe me. But today's diesel is not fit to burn in a diesel engine. And a lot of that has to do with, back in 1993, the EPA started putting some guidelines around the amount of sulfur content that we can put in our diesel fuel. And at that time, 30 years ago, it was 50,000 or 5,000, parts per million of sulfur. And then in 2006, they dropped that number to 15 parts per million of sulfur. So
Wow.
why is that important? So for those of you who don't know why sulfur is important, it helps stabilize the fuel and it prevents microbial growth in tanks. And then it also has some great lubricity properties. So a lot of people saw their fuel economy drop due to that lack of sulfur in their engine. And then with that, there's injectors are failing, pumps are failing. Like I said, microbial growth can build in an engine or in the filter or in the tank. And so it's really important to additize your fuel or to buy a premium diesel fuel. That way you can get all of those benefits that have been taken away, put back in.
Wow, I'd never thought about such a drop. I guess it just kind of goes to show that in some cases they just don't make stuff like they used to anymore. I know my uncle's biggest gripe when it comes to his diesel is that you have to run all of the DEF and stuff like that. Are you guys involved in any of the DEF aspects of your diesel engines?
We do. We supply DEF as well. And something also that's kind of unique about DEF is you want to handle it within a closed system, because even a drop of sweat that falls off of your nose or just a particle from the air, if that gets into your DEF system, it can contaminate it. And so it's very important to handle your DEF carefully. And for those of you that are putting DEF in your system, maybe from a gallon or 2.5 gallon jug, if you ever have any leftover, I think you're almost better off just to use it as fertilizer in your lawn rather than putting the cap back on and using it for later, because the opportunities for contaminants to be in there, especially considering we live in the Midwest where there's tons of wind and all sorts of things floating around in the air, it's not great to put the cap back on and then reuse it later.
I had never really considered that, but you do make such a great point with, dust or the change in humidity, all those contaminants that can kind of go into that and mess up the system. So I never really made the connection of it being not single use, but you want to use it all in the same use.
Better off with smaller containers. So. And then lubricants too, you had asked about lubricants, and they're so interesting when it comes to performance and what makes them different based on whether you purchase Valvoline or Mobil or some other brand.
I'm just kind of blown away learning so much. Can we talk a little bit about how companies test for performance? Because it just you've shown a lot in your information about how dedicated you guys are to performance and being at the top of your game all the time.
Yeah, so to test for performance, all companies are a little bit different, but we rely on ExxonMobil's engineering support and research and development, and they spend tons of money on their research and development, and they partner with original engine manufacturers or OEMs to formulate products on the front end before they're actually released to market. That way they know that the product is going to perform in the application or in the customer's engine. And I think one of the best examples of this, I can't remember what year it came out, but Corvette or General Motors was releasing a new Corvette with a new engine. And in their testing phase, they were having tons of problems where the engine was getting too hot. And so they went to ExxonMobil and said, hey, we have this problem. Can you formulate us a new oil or help us solve it to reduce the temperature in the engine, or we're going to have to put an oil cooler on it? And ExxonMobil went to work and they formulated a specific product for those engines that reduced the temperature of the system. And then that way the oil wouldn't break down and they didn't have to add the oil cooler. So in general, testing for performance is a lot of field work and also on the front end, building the molecules that are appropriate for the application.
It sounds like a ton of teamwork as well between yourself, ExxonMobil, and everybody coming together. Like a well-oiled machine or a well-performing race team, you can't do it without a team of people behind you. Can we talk a little bit about kind of going back into the developmental stages when you come up with a new product? What kind of time frame does that come up with? Is it kind of case by case where you have to meet a certain deadline for a certain customer?
Yeah, it kind of ranges based on the customer's needs, but we haven't come across a scenario yet where ExxonMobil doesn't have a product that will meet the customer's applications. But as far as the research and development phases go, I'm going to sound like a super nerd here when I say this, but a couple weeks ago, I got to go to the Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers conference, and people come, and it was just in Minneapolis, so it was close by, but people come from all over the world, and there are specific sectors of chemistry where all they do is work on formulating the base oils and the additives that go into these new engines. So a lot of these products and additives are years in the making. And it's just really cool to see what research they've been working on that's going to be implemented in the next 5-10 years coming.
And what is a tribologist?
So they're essentially a chemist that focuses specifically on the lubrication sector.
Okay. And with base oil prior to additives, is that just kind of what begins as crude, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it can begin as crude, and then we also have man-made molecules, which the most common ones, like your Mobil 1 1030, is what we call a polyalpha olefin. We call it PAO for short. And those are molecules that are made in a lab to be the exact same uniform size. And so that's what tribologists do, is they can work on processes that build the base oils and also some of the additives that go into base oils.
Wow, that's something new. We got to take a break and pay a couple of bills. Before we jump over there, we did get a text from Bree letting us know that she has made the last transfer spot from her heat race, so she's moving on to the big dance tonight at US 30 Speedway. You're listening to The Finish Line on 93.7 The Ticket.
You can get diesel anywhere, but what about Atomic Diesel? That comes from Stern. Atomic Diesel is your solution to all your cold weather problems. Prevent clogged fuel filters, increase your fuel economy, and save money with Atomic Diesel. Contact Roger at Stern today by calling 1-800-477-2744 to see how Atomic Diesel and the rest of their line of fuels and lubricants can keep your operation running at max capacity.
Hello, this is Mary Pat Waite. I've had the privilege of working with Lincoln Families as their realtor for more than 31 years, and I'm so proud to be associated with MP Dodge Real Estate. For me, your transaction is unique in its own way. My experience allows me to bring you trusted care and a really great outcome. My NP Dodge family shares the same client focus.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
Plains Cover Crop is your one-stop seed shop. Call us now for spring and summer forages, CRP mixes, and fall cover crop blends. We do farm-specific consulting for practical and efficient seed blends to fit your geography and goals. With a very diverse inventory, we will tailor a blend just for you. We're also looking for contract growers, and we buy and sell rye. Find us online at plainscovercrop.com. Timeless agronomy practices paired with modern technology. East Highway 20 in Orchard and across Nebraska.
Hay season is a race against time. Win that race with an all-new 1 Series round baler from Landmark Implement. The all-new John Deere 1 Series round baler is a revolutionary leap in baler technology that captures near real-time moisture and weight data that can be analyzed through Operations Center to improve your bale quality and farm efficiency. Are you ready to upgrade your hay equipment? Contact your local Landmark location for full details on the new 1 Series round baler and experience the Landmark difference.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
There's that pit in my stomach. I hope that knot gets untangled and untied so that the Royals can be in contention for the playoffs come late August into September. I'm not holding my breath for it, but before I freak out and lose my mind about how bad things are right now, I'm going to choose to look back at last year and remember how bad 56 and 106 felt.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first.
At Doane University, your future is uniquely yours, and our world-class liberal arts education is just the beginning.
We invite you to schedule your campus visit and experience why Doane University will start you on your journey to your future career.
Learn more by scheduling your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit. See you soon.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you're passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives. 93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Back to the finish line with Bree Fansteel and James Rowland on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into the finish line, race fans. We're crossing the white flag into the last lap in this week's episode as they're winding down in the NASCAR race. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Green, white checker restart coming up over at the Nashville Super Speedway. For those of you tuned in your car, you can find us on 93.7 The Ticket. If you're not in the ride, you can check out the Ticket app. You can also watch on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, Allo Channel 961. Take this number down for next week's show. No more call-ins this week, but you can reach us at 402-464-5685. We're back in with Ben, the Master of Buttons, and Caitlin Stern with Stern Companies. Caitlin, I wanted to talk a little bit or kind of quiz you a little, or not necessarily a quiz because I don't have the answers that you do, on some common myths and misconceptions in the industry.
Yeah, so let's start. Do you want to start with lubricants or fuel?
Let's start with fuel.
Fuel. One of the most common things that we get from customers calling in is they'll say, hey, I've got a black filter and I have to have algae growth. So first, it's not always microbial growth, and algae can't grow in fuel, but microbials can, which is kind of like mold and things.
Okay.
People should also take a look at their filter and send it in for testing, because what it could be is asphaltene, so unburnt fuel that's left behind. So, but people take a look at a black filter and just automatically assume I've got microbial growth in there. So we don't want to treat diesel systems for microbial growth unless we know they're actually present, because they are strong little buggers and they can build up an immunity if you treat your tank without them actually growing in there. So that's one of the most common things that we experience in the fuel industry. And then from a lubricants perspective, my favorite product that we sell is grease. I think it's so interesting, but some myths that we often get. The first would be that color has anything to do with performance. So we'll get people call in that say, hey, I need a really good NLGI blue grease. The blue has nothing to do with performance. So Mobil might have one line of greases be blue versus Chevron might have their synthetics be blue. So they're not the same. So the only thing that the color really is helpful for is making sure you're not putting the wrong grease in the wrong application. And then also when the grease comes out of the system, if it's a different color, then you can determine if things have oxidized or if there's dirt or grime in there. And then,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I had kind of a question back to fuels. I've always heard, and I don't know if it's a misconception, but the freshness or kind of the frequency that tanks are refilled at the gas station or at the diesel pump can kind of affect your mileage or the quality of the fuel that you're getting. Like if you go to a gas station that's maybe not as busy, you might be getting worse gas than you would at, like, say, a Sam's Club where the lines are just constantly moving.
Oh, that's an interesting question that I haven't been asked before, but I think I know the answer to it.
Sweet, I got one thing right.
Yeah. So what happens is the headspace where there isn't fuel all the way at the top of the tank, especially in our environment where it could be really hot during the day and then cold at night, there's condensation that can build up, and then water drops out in those tanks. And then every time that you go and you put a new load of fuel in there, then it just kind of stirs everything up. And so it can cause some challenges in your engine. So that's why it's really important for whether people have a tank at their own site or at a convenience store to get their fuel cleaned or their tanks cleaned on a regular basis. That way you can get all of that water, or if it's underground tanks, if sediment drops in there, it's really important to get that cleaned up. But that can happen if they're not filling it frequently enough.
What goes into cleaning a supply like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a service called Fuel Clean. So what we do is we come on site for customers, and then we hook up to somebody's tank, and there's a couple filters that we run the fuel through constantly until we get all of the gunk out, or we can pull all the water out, we can pull sediment. We test multiple times and take samples throughout that process until we ensure that the inside of the tank is clean and the fuel is clean with it. So this is something new that we've added to our portfolio in the past year, and it is amazing the stuff that we've taken out of tanks. Like one that we had recently, the fuel sample before we did our fuel clean, the product looked like Mountain Dew. It was almost fluorescent green. I have no idea. We still can't figure out what was in the tank, if someone was messing with it, but it was bizarre.
Yeah, I can't imagine. In all my years of dumping gas into different tanks or dumping diesel into tanks, I've never seen one that looked like Mountain Dew. I mean, the strangest color that I've seen is red diesel for farm implements.
Right. It was a new one for us too.
Mountain Dew fuel.
Mm-hmm.
With all the stuff that Mountain Dew's making maybe they need to team up with Stern companies and come up with a Mountain Dew gasoline.
Maybe, or they could just sponsor us in general. Like between my dad and our CFO, we have to be consuming the most Mountain Dew in the entire state of South Dakota. Like I truly think that we could be sponsored. It's energizing them, so it kind of fits, right?
Mountain Dew and Mobile One, a pairing that we didn't know that we needed. But I think we need to make this happen. Combine marketing departments and get them on there and do the do. Well, Caitlin, I think we're going to jump out of here. We appreciate you jumping on with us. You've really expanded my mind into the world of fuels and lubricants, the differences, the myths, and the misconceptions. And I can't thank you enough for this information, and Stern Company for their support of 93.7 The Ticket.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. All right, race fans, they're winding it down. I really thought that we were going to get this race in before we signed off, so I'll give you a quick top 5. 2 laps to go at the Nashville Super Speedway. Denny Hamlin is your race leader. Kyle Larson rides in second. Martin Truex Jr. in third. Kyle Busch fourth. Chase Briscoe is fifth. Joey Logano rides sixth. He's in a tight points battle with Bubba Wallace for the cut line, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this one boils down. Corey LaJoie seventh. Chase Briscoe eighth. Noah Gragson ninth. And Bubba Wallace up to spot number 10. That's going to kick us off into the next show. Get your happy on with Ricky. Ricky is going to be in next. Thank you for tuning in to The Finish Line on 93.7 The Ticket.
Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment